My name is Vanjie Collins, and I am a glass artist working with lampwork beads. And lampwork beads are made so that most lampwork beads have a hole that run through them, which is what allows me to make pendants and earrings as I create my jewelry. I was living up in Nashua, New Hampshire, and I went to what I thought was going to be a craft fair. And when I walked in, there was a sea of glass artists, and I had no idea what I was looking at, seriously, but all the colors and so many of the displays were beautiful that I found myself just kind of wandering around. And when I left there, I left with 2 beads, and that just continued to grow. And I worked at the time where I had to like really dress for work. I was in the court system, and I would get up in the morning and I would look at my little cluster of beads, and I would choose what outfit I was going to wear based on what bead I wanted to wear. So one thing led to another, and one morning it was kind of like, I got to learn how to do this because this is too cool.
My name is Shannon Eldridge. I am the treasurer of the Women of Fishing Families. The Women of Fishing Families is a nonprofit organization based in Chatham. We're a network of women that support each other. We're from fishing families, fishermen's wives, daughters, sisters, mothers, grandmothers. Some of us fished ourselves, and we raise funds to support our fellow fishing families in times of need. We also have a scholarship program where we support children of fishing families with college tuition, continuing education, childcare, and camp. And then we also host the annual Blessing of the Fleet at the Chatham Fish Pier in the spring.
So Shannon had mentioned about the Blessing of the Fleet this past year, and I went to the Blessing of the Fleet the previous year. And I know some of the people that are involved, and someone approached me and asked me if I would like to be on a committee to kind of help the women of fishing families kind of get their mojo back, because they kind of lost it during COVID and things kind of slowed down, and they needed a little spark. There's a card that they have created with their logo, and that logo is of a person, and you see a big pink boot that comes out of this like lifesaver. And so my immediate thought was, a boot! I gotta make a boot.
See the boot, know the cause. That's our tagline. The significance of the boot. So the one thing that's common among all fishermen is that they wear boots when they're working, and kind of regardless of what gear type they fish, where they go fishing, how they fish, what they fish for, the boot is the common thread. And so when we started in 2006, we identified that a pink boot for the women of fishing families would be a good logo. And so when you see the boot, know the cause, know what your dollars are going towards, which is fishing families who need that support, because they do. They risk their lives to go to sea and feed the rest of us, and they deserve the kind of support that we as a community can provide. We have a website, fishingfamilies.org, and you can go there and contact us for assistance. We have a phone number. It's open to the public, 508-274-2092. People can call that, leave a message, and we'll get back in touch with them and just listen to what's going on and figure out how we can help.
Every single penny is going to the women of fishing families. I mean, it's every fundraiser that I've done exactly in that way, because I feel like if I'm gonna do something that's gonna help people, then I gotta be, it's all or nothing for me. I am very fortunate that the beads are not my income. So this is kind of like my play money, and this is kind of my way of sharing it with the world. Somebody asked me this the other day, like why do you do what you do? I've had lots of bumps in my life, and now I'm in a place where I live a wonderful life, and I'm living in this beautiful place. I just realized that we have to help each other. Humans have to help humans. And it's so easy to let somebody else do it, but honestly, I think everybody can participate in whatever way they can. You know, if it's counting beans, then count beans. I just think it's really important for everybody to do what you can to help your community, to help other people. It's amazing. It's amazing. I never dreamed that my beads would end up helping people, and yet here I am.
There's a bend in the road on Route 6A in West Barnstable where drivers should watch their speed. Not only because it's kind of a dangerous corner, but it's also where they can find one of the few family-run farms here on Cape Cod. In 2024, John and Sarah Bartlett purchased the property, which had long been the home of Harvest Moon Farm, before they opened it for operation under a different name in 2025.
There's not a lot of available farmland on Cape Cod, so we looked at a couple of places, and this one, kind of piqued our interest, and we jumped and went for it.
Around these parts, folks may be just beginning to familiarize themselves with the name Bartlett. But on Nantucket, it's more than just a familiar name. It's a family with a farming history that dates back to 1843. Over on the island, the operation dabbles in everything from livestock to produce. But after running the financial end of things for several years over there, John Bartlett wanted to get back to his roots, pardon the pun, and go strictly fruits, flowers, and veggies here on the mainland.
It was just time for Sarah and I to kind of transition out of Nantucket and kind of turn that over to the seventh generation. And this opportunity came up, and we thought it would be a good idea to do something here on Cape Cod that we feel there's a need for, and get myself out from behind the desk and more in the field again, because that's really what my passion is growing vegetables, not crunching numbers.
The Bartletts were fortunate to get a property that was move-in ready. And while this farm may be considered a smaller operation, the amount of land that they get to work with is ideal for what they're trying to accomplish here.
We're growing on about 5 acres. The farm itself is around 7, but there's greenhouses and buildings and some wetlands or other woodlands that we're not growing on. So that's a decent amount. It's enough to keep us really busy, and so we're kind of happy with the size and the space that we have.
There's no shortage of produce coming up from the ground across the fields here. But of course, this is Cape Cod, which isn't always an agrarian paradise with its famously unpredictable weather. So having these greenhouses is pretty handy, especially for growing tomatoes. Anyone who likes tomatoes will say there's no comparison between a supermarket tomato and one purchased at the local farm. The owners say that if they can get anywhere between 10 and 20 pounds of tomatoes per plant, that's a great yield. And these plants are just one more example of how they're bringing their Nantucket operation here to West Barnstable. And that operation is all about delivering the farm fresh experience to the visitors. As for why produce tends to taste better when it's fresh from the farm, there's always the unscientific explanation.
The wine always tastes better at the vineyard, right? So it's part of the experience too. It's part of like going to a farm, seeing where the produce is produced, and knowing your neighbor, knowing your farmer. I think it's more of an experience. It's more of a connection to your food.
John Bartlett will be the first to admit that he's not a kid anymore, although he still moves like someone who could run circles around some of the youngsters here on the farm. He also knows that the easier route may have been to stick with staying behind the scenes. But with farming in his blood, opening up shop here on the Cape just felt like the best choice that he could have made.
There's longer days, there's shorter days, there's warmer days, there's colder days. Some are wet, some are dry, but it's always different, and that's one of the things I love about farming, and just being able to be outside. I feel like, it keeps you moving, it keeps you young, and definitely, as you say, as we're aging out here, moving is important. So, it keeps me young that way, and again, when you like what you're doing, it's not really work.
The Historical Society of Old Yarmouth was founded in 1953, and in 1958 we were gifted this magnificent Greek Revival home by Guido Pereira, a descendant of one of Yarmouth's earliest settlers, Anthony Thatcher. The gift also came with 50 acres of woodlands stretching out behind the house right here in the middle of Yarmouth Port. The house was constructed in about 1840, and it's a very generously sized home of the mid-19th century. Captain Bangs Hallet was one of a number of sea captains who lived in the house. And as we look around the house, you'll see evidence of what their lives were like, somewhat different from the lives of their neighbors in town. For more than 70 years now, the Historical Society of Old Yarmouth, HSOY, has cared for and maintained the Bangs Hallet House and the nature trails. In 2025, we closed the museum to the public for an inventory so that we could assess the collection, finding a number of great surprises and treasures along the way, and also to plan for a special exhibition. It gives us an opportunity to find ways to make the collection more accessible to the public, answering their questions as they think of them, and providing a warm and welcoming glimpse into the life of what life was like in the mid-1800s in Yarmouth Port.
Hello, I'm Mike LaRoe, and I'm one of the many docents that work here at the Bangs Hallet Museum. And we're in the Maritime Room right now, and this is one of the highlights of the museum. You see a painting of the Red Jacket ship, and she sailed from New York to Liverpool in 13 days, 1 hour, 25 minutes. That was a world record. Her captain was Asia Aldridge. Asia Aldridge lived right up the street, along with other Aldridges that were sea captains in the local area.
In this section of the museum, we plan to use this area for special exhibitions. This year, from now until the time the museum closes in mid-October, we have a special exhibition that focuses on the lives of people in this part of Cape Cod during the pivotal years of the American Revolution, from the 1760s to the 1780s, because of course we're celebrating the 250th anniversary of the American Revolution. Our show is called Yarmouth in Revolution, and naturally it looks at the lives of the military men, the militiamen, featuring some of articles that belong to some of our captains of the militia here in town. In addition to looking at what the men were doing in the militia, we focus a large part of the exhibit on what was happening at home, because nearly 68% of the eligible aged men in Yarmouth were serving in the militia at one time or another. That meant who was taking care of the house, the fields, the farms, the fishing, the shops. That responsibility fell to the women and children and older residents of the towns in the Cape. And so we focus a large portion on at home as well, what life was like for those individuals who were struggling to feed and clothe their own family, and yet as part of the war effort were often asked to provide goods and services for the militiamen to keep the battle going.
Welcome to the Bangs Hallet Museum. We're located at 11 Strawberry Lane right here in Yarmouth Port. Please check our website for times and dates. That's at hosy.org.
The first game of mini golf may have been played in Scotland during the mid-1800s, but here in the Cape, the experience is somewhat of a summertime rite of passage for tourists and locals alike. Who among us hasn't played a round or two at one of the countless courses across the 15 towns that make up Cape Cod? For those of us of a certain age, our nostalgic memories take us back to a place that may look just like this: Chase's Landing on the corner of Shad Hole and Lower County Roads in Dennisport.
They come in with their children and they love to reminisce how they came here when they were a child, and they came here with their grandparents. And they just love the nostalgia of the place. And we have tried to keep the whole plaza as much the same for that reason. When they come in here, they still feel like it's the same place that they played when they were a kid. And when they go in the store that they went into, Bastions 5 and 10, that's changed hands now with my granddaughter running it, but we have tried to maintain a lot of the familiar things so that when they come in, they just have that wonderful memory of their childhood.
Part of that nostalgia stems from the location of this plaza. The place where Lower County Road and Shad Hole Road converge isn't exactly the hub of the universe on the Cape, and this leans more on the side of blessing than curse, but it's still a bit of both.
I hear from people, I've lived here for a long time. I didn't even know this mini golf was here. It just is one of those things that you drive past quickly. It's not like really well visible from the street and stuff. So the ice cream place is a major draw. The deli, everybody is waiting for them to open in the spring. It's a combination of all the businesses that bring the people in. And just today, somebody was walking by and they're looking over the fence and they're like, oh wow, this is beautiful. We're gonna come back later.
For anyone coming here expecting bells and whistles, they'll be pleased to know they do ring a bell anytime someone gets a hole-in-one. But aside from that, it's a very peaceful and serene experience with some serious geometric conundrums to contend with.
When you walk in here, it's not going to be one of these super with the water features, and you know, it's going to be quiet, a summer breeze in the shade, and just, you know, a nice feeling about the way that things were before everything got so big and overdone.
Did I make that shot in one take? Of course I did. The only thing more difficult than actual golf for me is mini golf. But where else can I play with a green ball and a green ambidextrous club? Of course, none of this is unique to the mini golf experience. What is unique about this mini golf experience here in Dennisport is the plant life that surrounds each of the 18 holes. When she and her husband bought the place back in 2004, it took about 2 years to restore it to the glory that made it Susan's Garden Mini Golf when it was first built in the 1950s. The due diligence Priscilla Whittemore has put into maintaining its beauty earned her a write-up in the Boston Globe magazine and the prestigious Golden Trowel Award from the Village Garden Club of Dennis.
That was another like heartwarming moment for me. I was like, oh my goodness, to have that recognition. And there was a lot of big businesses that were our competition, so they just loved the way that it was very casual and not planted like landscapers plant, you know, not everything right in a row and stuff, and very much like an older English garden.
In a sense, the sounds of nature and chatter among the players define the experience. And it's a win-win experience for both Priscilla Whittemore and the folks who show up every year for the few months that the course is open during the summer.
Gardening's always been my passion, and then to have a situation where I get to show it off like this is an extra bonus, you know. And it just always makes me glad that they really, really appreciate the place. You know, they see the value in the quiet nostalgia of this place that's old-fashioned, you know. So they don't leave here wishing that they had gone someplace better.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hi there, my name is Erin Shimaka. I am the owner of Signed Management, which is a boutique modeling agency focusing on management. And I founded about 5-6 years ago Fashion Week of Cape Cod. Fashion Week of Cape Cod was born out of a desire to really show the fashion we have here on Cape Cod. I have an event that I do called Model Camp, and I had models coming into town. I wanted a way to show them and be able to have them walk a runway. I had New York agents coming up to see them, and so I was like, oh, let's do a little fashion show. We did our first one here in Orleans at where the farmers market is. And so I called a couple of boutiques that I knew, and I was like, oh, would you want to do this? And suddenly it spread like wildfire, and I was getting calls from designers that are making their own lines here in Cape Cod, and I had no idea that that happened. And I felt if I didn't know that happened, then lots of people probably don't know that happened. And that's where the birth of Fashion Week of Cape Cod came. I really want to be able to show people a different type of art. We all know Cape Cod for photographers and potters and writers and all the other type of art we have, but we don't know the wearable art side. This year we have a student segment which is going to feature high school kids here that are designing looks, and I am so excited about that because my whole career has been giving young people a platform and an opportunity to show them something different.
Honestly, I love to come home because my family's here, my friends, just where I grew up, so the Cape's very special to me. And also it's nice to support local businesses and new businesses that started. Everyone that I've met here is so nice, so I'm happy to help and work with them. Also, what Erin's doing is amazing. She's helping small businesses, getting new faces developed, so it's awesome to be part of that.
So this year we are working with HPC, which is very exciting. We're doing a silent auction to provide all the money will go towards their mission, which I think is super incredible and super important here on Cape Cod. Obviously, we all know the housing crisis that we have here and how expensive it can be to live here. So what they do is incredible.
The Homeless Prevention Council helps our neighbors on the Lower and Outer Cape to remain stably housed and financially secure working in our towns. And we help close to 3,000 people every year and climbing each year.
I've heard some of the stories of people that have benefited through HPC, and it's so moving and so important that I just want to keep doing whatever I can to support them because they're incredible people and their cause and mission is so important to everyone and the sustainability of people living here on Cape Cod. So we're hoping that Fashion Week continues and grows. Hopefully in the future we'll have even more days because more and more designers keep popping up and coming to us. So you can stay tuned to our social medias. It's CapeCod.Fashion Week. That this is just really a great community event and a great way to support people that need our support.
I'm Gretchen Eckel. I'm a family medicine trained physician assistant, and I'm also our population health director and pediatric program director here at Outer Cape Health. Alpha-gal syndrome is a hypersensitivity reaction that a patient may experience after a tick bite to the Lone Star tick. And this hypersensitivity reaction is like an allergy to non-primate mammalian products such as beef, pork, lamb, venison, and may include dairy products or even products containing gelatin, which are in some medications and vaccines. And this reaction is to a molecule, also known as a disaccharide or a sugar, that's in the tick that transmits into the bloodstream. And after several weeks or months, patients become sensitized to this molecule, and they can have reactions such as something as mild as hives or itching, nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, abdominal pain, or something as life-threatening as anaphylaxis. There's no way to predict who's going to develop alpha-gal syndrome after the Lone Star tick bite. There seems to be a wide variety or spectrum of presentations, but there is a way to get a blood test with your healthcare provider. This is going to measure an immunoglobulin, or what we call an IgE antibody, that may take weeks to develop after a tick bite. So we can't identify who's going to have the reaction, and it's a clinical diagnosis in combination with that positive test. So there have been cases or incidences where patients have positive antibodies and no reaction after consuming those products. The Lone Star tick was primarily identified in the mid-Atlantic states, so in the southeast, but we're seeing increasing cases here on Cape Cod and the islands, and so the Department of Public Health, as of April, now considers this a reportable condition so that they can study and investigate patterns here. In alpha-gal syndrome, it's also known as midnight anaphylaxis because a lot of people consume these products in the evening or at dinner time, and their symptoms are delayed. And this requires fat absorption in their meal, so it takes longer for the antigen, or alpha-gal in this case, that sugar molecule we talked about, to actually enter the bloodstream. So the presentation may be 2 hours later after consuming the products, or as late as 6, 10, or 12 hours later. So if patients are developing itching unexplained about 6 hours after a meal, and there seems to be a consistency with that food consumed, and they could maybe identify that through a food journal, they should talk to their doctor about getting that blood test. So the best prevention would be avoiding a tick bite or preventing a tick bite. And so people can do that by wearing long sleeves or long pants, particularly light clothing, so you can spot the dark colored ticks more easily. Using insect repellents containing DEET or picaridin, or oil of lemon eucalyptus has evidence to say that can prevent or repel ticks. Doing frequent tick checks after you spend time outdoors, so doing that as soon as you're finished with your yard work or after you're done with your hike, coming in, doing a full body tick check, and then removing those clothes that you wore during that activity and washing them right away. In addition to those measures, you can also purchase permethrin-soaked clothing or treated gear. So if you're frequently camping, hiking, or gardening, you can use permethrin as a repellent on your clothes, but it's not recommended for your skin.
Hey, I'm Kayla. I was an intern at Cape Media Center back in 2019, and that experience totally launched my career in media.
And I'm Destiny. I was right there with Kayla in 2019, learning everything from camera work to editing and loving every second of it.
The staff here at Cape Media Center were always hands-on and always willing to answer our questions, especially with our final project.
We created a series of videos called the Blue Economy Project, where we dove deeper into how the ocean plays a vital role in Cape Cod's economy.
The series was well approved, and we couldn't have done it without the Cape Media Center.
Fast forward to now, I'm working in live music production and have even worked at venues such as Gillette Stadium and Fenway Park.
And I actually came full circle. I'm back at the Cape Media Center, this time on staff.
Cape Media Center gave us the tools, the confidence, and the real-world experience to chase our creative goals.
It's more than just a media center, it's a launch pad for your future.
Start your story at Cape Media Center in Dennisport.
Cape Media Center, your voice, your vision, your community.